Hey, pre-calc class. This is a video reviewing sine, cosine, and tangent graphs. All right, let's take a look at our first graph, sine. One thing I've discovered is I'm not real great on the iPad, so each of these graphs get progressively worse, in my opinion, but I'm doing the best I can. Hopefully I get a little bit better. Anyways, all right, sine. If you remember, sine is y in the unit circle. So as we're looking at the unit circle in the upper right, we're really looking at the red values around the circle. So when we start at 0 radians, the value is 0. So that's why we plot this, we have that dot right there. And then if we go up to pi over 2 radians, we can see that the value there is 1. So that is represented here. When we get to pi, we have 0. So that dot represented right there. And 3 pi over 2 is -1. So represented right there. And then back to 2 pi, you can see we're back to 0. Okay, so our amplitude, remember that's the height of each peak or how low each valley goes. So in this case, that's 1. Our period is how long it takes to make a cycle. So we start, here's our beginning, and then where is it going where it's at 0 and increasing anymore? That next spot that happens here is 0 where it's increasing again. So you can see that wave right there is 2 pi. Okay, and sine has no asymptotes. All right, that's sine. Let's move to cosine. Okay, cosine is x. Okay, so if we're looking at the unit circle, we're looking at the blue values now, and at 0 radians, we get a value of 1. So that is represented right here. And if we go up to pi over 2, we have a value of 0, so represented right there. Working our way around, pi is -1, okay. 3 pi over 2 is 0, so that's plotted right there. And back to 2 pi, we get back to 1. Okay, amplitude again is 1 for this graph, and we can see again the period here is 2 pi. It's easy to start at 0 here, so that's where you can really pick any spot to figure out what the period is. But we're looking here starting at 0, but this is decreasing. Where's the next spot? It's at 0 and decreasing. Here's 0 decreasing. So what is that distance there? That's 2 pi. So that's our period. And there are no asymptotes for cosine either. Okay, lastly, let's take a look at tangent. This graph looked okay until that very last graph on the very right. But anyways, if you recall, when we do, let's just do purple here. In the unit circle, tangent is y over x. So if we're looking at 0 radians, right here, that would be 0 over 1, which gives us 0. So that's that dot right there. And then if we go, it's probably easiest to go to pi over 4 next. We would do square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2, which would give us 1. And that's that dot right there. If we keep going this way, we end up at pi over 2, and we would have 1 over 0, which is undefined. So that gives us that red asymptote line since it's undefined. So it's almost easiest to go back the other way and look here at negative pi over 4 before we continue. So that would be negative square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2, and that is -1. So if we keep going around the unit circle that way, negative pi over 2 would be -1 divided by 0, also undefined, so we have another red asymptote line. So we connect those dots with a smooth curve, and we get that graph that you see there. Our period for tangent is just one of those sections, and the period kind of straddles the y-axis. So half of the period is to the right of the y-axis, and half of the graph is to the left. So, but our period total there is 1 pi, because then we start to repeat again. The asymptotes, all the red lines, you'll notice, are at odd multiples of pi over 2, so 1 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, etc., and back the other way. That's it. Sine, cosine, and tangent graphs. All right, we'll see you later.